Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on this super special webinar with Google for Education. I'm joined by Tisha Poncio, who along with me will be taking you through some of the amazing integrations we've got with Google for Education and how educators around the world are using these two platforms in sync. So for a lot of you who are not aware about Wakelet, I'd like to take you through the basics. Just a little review before we go into the actual workings of how we work with Google for Edu. So Wakelet's a content curation platform that allows you to save, organize, and share multimedia content from across the web. In this, we allow for an amazing bunch of user cases in the classroom, like teachers creating newsletters, teachers curating resources on homework topic areas and assignment topic areas for their students, and a bunch of amazing user cases that help improve classroom engagement. We're going to be taking you through some of the great integrations that you see on your screen right now. So we've got a Google Classroom integration that allows for you to share your Wakelet collection straight into Google Classroom. We've got an amazing YouTube integration that allows you to search for YouTube videos inside of Wakelet on a variety of topic areas and pull it straight into wakelet.com. And we've also got a Google Drive integration that allows you to pull content straight from your Google Drive folders into Wakelet. And last but not least, we've also got the single sign-on where we allow for you and your students to sign into Wakelet using Gmail. Of course, it's challenging times right now for everyone. At Wakelet, we want to support you however we can. Today, we'll be showcasing how you can make the most of our integrations with Google for Education. And who better to go through this than an amazing educator and Wakelet ambassador, Tisha Poncio. Take it away.
Thanks, Teijas. Hey, Wakelet and Google community members. I'm so excited to be with you today to share with you how I am using Google and Wakelet during distance learning, remote learning, high flex, hybrid models. I cannot wait to share with you what I'm doing because I hope it inspires you to use the two tools together to really meet the goals of your students and meet them where they are. Today, I'm going to be sharing a Google slide deck, and I chose the Google slide deck on purpose so that you guys would have access to it as needed. And you can reach out anytime you have questions. You guys can contact me and let me know, but I wanted you to have access to it as we're going through the webinar so that you can interact with it, maybe go back and reflect on it if you need to. To find this slide deck, it's at bit.ly/Google Wakelet 20. And that is all lowercase. It is not case sensitive. So that will be at the bottom of every slide as we progress forward. And just in case you do not know me, I am Tisha Poncio, Digital Learning Specialist. You can find me on Twitter at Texas Tech Chick. You can email me at tishajponcio@gmail.com. Please let me know how I can support you during the crazy times that we are educating in. Reach out anytime. So Google and Wakelet have this incredible partnership. And for me, it's a little bit like peanut butter and jelly or mac and cheese. They just work so well together. And the great thing, if you are a Google school, is that the Google single sign-on works in Wakelet. And that means that if your students are 13 or older and they sign up for a Google account, they can single sign on with that. That also means for you as a teacher and your administrators, you have the ability to one-click sign on into Wakelet, set up your account, and start creating collections. What happens from there is that you then have the ability to add content from your Google Drive. So you could add in Google Docs or slide decks or anything that you have in that Google Drive, you have the ability to share to a Wakelet collection. That in itself is incredible. But then you also have the ability as a teacher to share any collections that you've created very quickly with few clicks to your Google Classroom learning management system. So we're going to cover all of that in today's session. And I also want to take note before we move on that Wakelet is COPA FERPA, and CSPC compliant. So if you have any questions about privacy, I know student privacy is extremely important to all of us. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. I can send your questions on, or you can email support@wakelet.com. So the first thing I want to show you is actually one of the easiest and simplest ways to put a Wakelet collection into a Google Doc. And so if you're just starting off and you feel like you're a beginner Wakelet user, which we've all been there, and you know my story, so you can go in and create a Wakelet collection simply that has research links for your students. And that is what this ELA teacher, Stephanie Reed from Texas, has done for her students. They're doing a novel background research study. She created the Wakelet collection so that they would have everything they needed, and their research was very specific and direct. And she's put the Wakelet link into her Google Doc so that they can use those links for research, but then also they can go in and answer all the questions on this doc in a different color. So this is a very simple way to utilize Wakelet and Google, but it is a very powerful way to do that. And you're going to see as we move along how Stephanie has really built on this particular project. So here's Stephanie's Ink and Bone novel background research collection. She's decided that she wants to go in and link her Google Drive so that she can add a specific already designed and created document over into her Wakelet. So you can see that she's done that very quickly. She's clicking the plus sign, then she clicks the Google Drive icon. It links, it may ask you to sign in. Once you sign in, you should have access to what you need. So this is another incredible integration. It makes it very quick. And I think, again, it comes back to less clicks for the teachers, less steps to get that information to their students. Here's another example of sharing collections to Google Classrooms. So I have a state research collection and I want to create an assignment. You can see that I click that Google Classroom icon. Without ever going into Google Classroom, I can choose the class, I can create an assignment, I can go into the specifics of that assignment, I can put instructions for my students, I can set titles, I can set, if I want to individually assign this and maybe give it to only a couple of students, I can do that. Due dates are set right here. I can create a topic. If I don't have one, we're going to make it research. I'm checking that the Wakelet link is at the bottom. It absolutely is. And now I can assign that to my students really just right within that Wakelet window. So to be safe, because I like to be safe, I'm going to go over to Google Classroom. I'm going to double check that that assignment looks how I want it to look for my students. So the instructions, I want to make sure that's all there, the due date, the points, and then I'm making sure that that Wakelet link is there for my students. So that is one of the most powerful ways to use Wakelet and Google Classroom. Very easily, you can share out those collections with your students and then just build upon that base and create some really powerful project-based learning, some authentic learning for your students. This is another example, and I love to share this example because this is what I do. I create modules using Wakelet. So I create lesson plans. I call them modules for my learners. I add in things like YouTube videos. I add in other Wakelet collections. I add in Flipgrids for them to go and respond with, PDFs. I've added different things for them to create. So the goal here is I'm using it so that it frees up some of my time, and I'm only teaching my students maybe lecturing for 15 to 20 minutes and then send them on their way. And what they do is they get to choose where they begin in this module, and they get to pick how that looks. So everybody is going to the same goal. That's really the whole point of this. They're going to the same goal, but how they get there may not be the same way. I may start at the very end of that module collection and go backwards, but other students may want to go in order. And so what this really does is it teaches those students learner autonomy. It teaches them to be the leaders of their learning, which is something that I really am passionate about. And so this model works so well for me. It also frees me up so that as my students are working in class, I can help my teachers. It also is great modeling for my teachers to show them that it is possible to not lecture for the whole 90 minutes, if that's how long you have your students. Really bringing them together for a small amount of time and then sending them on their way and facilitating. We are facilitators, and especially when we use modules like this. Again, I'm just going back to Miss Reed. I want to showcase that in the beginning of her Google Classroom assignment, she had her ink and bone background Google Doc. It linked, of course, to Wakelet, but now she has added an extra step. She's taken that Wakelet link and actually put it in the details and instructions of her Google Classroom assignment. And this would be for those students that maybe are lost. Maybe they can't find the link to the Wakelet research. So this just puts it in two places and they work together so that the students can continue with that learning. And finally, I just want to follow up and showcase this. Miss Reed added a completely extra step here, which I think is incredible. Now she's had her students create a Google site. So as a team, they go in, they're doing the research, they're answering the questions, and now they're going to pull it into a Google site. And she's given them this as an example. So it's over censorship, and it's the project-based learning example. And so she's given them some details, and now she expects them to replicate this. Now, if I were a student in Miss Reed's class, I absolutely would ask Miss Reed, if I don't want to use Google Sites, is it possible for me to put my findings together in a Wakelet? And the truth is, I know Miss Reed, she's going to say absolutely, because the truth is there is a way, not the way, but she's still getting those students to that end learning goal. So I just wanted to showcase that for you. Maybe that will inspire you to do something fun with your students and give them some authentic learning and really let them lead what that looks like. So this is a crazy idea I had. I don't know, in 2020, everything feels like a crazy idea, but we're all doing it. So I have been on Zoom meetings with my students, and also Meets. I mean, you could do Meet or Zoom. I mean, we're all doing one of those. So what I was thinking is my students could find a learning partner, and then together, and maybe even in a breakout room, if that's a possibility for you, but it doesn't have to be. So if it's possible, they can be in a breakout room, but maybe they would rather use a Jamboard and use the collaborative board and the sticky notes to research and discuss a holiday around the world that they do not celebrate. So that's the key. Learning about holidays that you do not celebrate and really just being inclusive about that. So then with their partner, they're going to either be in their breakout room or they're going to be on that Jamboard collaboratively working, maybe going to Google Scholar, finding some solid research and really practicing information literacy. And then they're going to creatively present their findings. So that's going to mean that they're going to come together, make a decision about how they're going to create their learning and showcase that to the rest of the class. So you'll see on number 4, I've added after they have finished creating that presentation, they then will take that presentation link over to a Reflect and Share Wakelet. Now, if I were doing this, I would pull my class together in a Zoom or a Meet. I would pull up this Jamboard of instructions. I would go over this with them, and then I would ask them, what questions do you have for me? Let's clear up any misconceptions that they may have, and ask me if I can be more clear and concise as their teacher and facilitator. and then send them on their way, right? So then I'm just facilitating that research. I'm facilitating the findings. I'm helping them come up with ideas of how they could creatively present. And at the very end of that, there is a reflect and share section, which is what I have here. And you can see that I have add to this Wakelet. So I've linked it here. I've also put a QR code. You can see in this video that I am putting a Google Classroom assignment together, holidays around the world. I have the Wakelet Jamboard instructions. I have a presentation rubric. Now I'm taking the contributor link. So that's very important. The contributor link is going to go over into that Google Classroom assignment so that my students 13 over, 13 or under, they do not have to have the account in order to add their Jamboard links, their Google Slides links. Maybe they're creating something in Adobe Spark or Canva or Google Drawings. Whatever that may be, they can pull it over either into a Google Slide, then they can pull it over into the Wakelet. So again, I've set that into Google Classroom, and I have specifically given them the collaborator link. So that's different than just sharing a Wakelet collection with your students. And I just want to clarify that. So we're going to watch it one more time. I'm going over into the Wakelet collection and I'm hitting invite instead of share, and I'm copying the invite contributors link so that my students now can pull all of their presentations together. They don't have to be the same, but Wakelet takes all of those presentations and now have a really nice portfolio that I can share out to parents, to administrators, or to the community. So this is just one way to do this. You could definitely break this up and make this easier for younger learners, or if you wanted to get even more complicated for the older learners, you could have them share their screen on Google Meet and present as a partnership. There's just so many different ways that you can do this, but that is one way that I thought of to do it, and I wanted to share that with you. So the next slide is something that seems pretty simple, but you could make it really incredible. So this state research project that I have created an assignment for, I wanted to add a YouTube video in there. So I've shared this YouTube video. I'm copying the URL. I'm going to Wakelet, clicking that YouTube icon, pasting the URL here, and then selecting my video to add to that Wakelet collection. And the reasoning for this is that YouTube video is going to play right within the Wakelet collection. So my students do not have to go to another tab. They can watch that video right within the collection that I have created for them. Now, for older learners, you could have them create video content. You could have them share that with you. You could upload it to your YouTube channel. And then you could add that to the Wakelet collection or have them add it. So there's lots of ways to take these things together, but this is very simple. Lots of people are doing this. I know that you're recording, professional development sessions for your teachers. Maybe you're recording staff meetings. So you could have a Wakelet collection of staff meetings where your principal or administrators are talking to you via video, but they've recorded the video, uploaded it to YouTube, and then you have all the staff meetings for the year right there. So there's lots of ways to integrate this, and it seems very simple, but it's also, again, super powerful. The next thing I want to show you is how to share collections to Gmail. So I thought of this as a way to really hit that parent partnership. So parent partnerships are so important in the middle of distance learning. I have found that communicating with my child's teachers, communicating with my own parents as a teacher is one of the biggest things to do right now, because the truth is, at any given time, so many of us feel like we are just completely lost. And so what I love about this is you can take a Wakelet collection, export it as a PDF, it downloads to your computer, and then you can go over to your Gmail account, create a new message, add in your parent email addresses like I've done here. Maybe it's a weekly newsletter that you're sharing with them, and then you're attaching that PDF into your Gmail. This really hits the parent communication piece that we all need to really remember. Parents maybe do not have experience with Wakelet. Maybe they don't have the ability to view that as a PDF. They don't necessarily have to have internet access. So we want to think about inclusiveness for everybody. And I love that Wakelet offers this ability for us to share collections even as PDFs. So this idea came to me really at the last minute. I am a Google Keep user. It stays open as a pin tab in my Google Chrome window all the time. But I thought, as a learning coach, a digital learning coach, a lot of times I am vetting my resources for my teachers. And so in Wakelet, you can actually go in and you can search all the public collections. And so I've searched distance learning. I found a distance learning collection with 15 items. I'm going to copy that URL, and then I'm going to paste it into my Google Keep. Now, what's great about that is you can share your Google Keeps with your first, second, third, and so on teams, first, second, third grade. You also could share those with your administrators. You could share them with your digital learning coaches if you have multiple in your district. There's so many ways to share Wakelet collections. But I think Google Keep is a really productive way to pull those Wakelet collections together into one space, give it a title. You can see it shows a little preview for you at the bottom. And I just think it's a really quick way to pull together resources to share for a meeting. So I just wanted to share that idea with you. I'm sure you guys are using Google Keep, but I will tell you, I keep it on my phone, on my iPad, and on my computer because I use it for so much. So wrapping up, here is what I want you to know. There is a way, not the way. There is a way to get to that learning goal. There is a way to app smash Google Edu apps with Wakelet, but there's not just one way. So I want you to remember, as you're working with your students, there's a way, not the way. They may not get to that learning goal as fast as everybody else. They may not get there on the same path as everybody else, but at the end, if they're meeting that learning goal and objective, that is really how you know you have won, right? So remember, for us too as educators, there's a way, not the way. There are multiple ways to get to a destination. And so I cannot wait to see all of the ways that you as educators find to use Google Edu with Wakelet to empower your students. I hope you guys have a great day. I've added resources at the end for you. There is a Google plus Wakelet collection that I have created for you. It has this slide deck and it has several other resources for you. I've added in some G Suite collaborative tools for learning article, as well as some learning strategies and research that I did in grad school. And then lastly, learn.wakelet.com. You guys know that you can contact me on Twitter or email at any time. I honestly am so glad that I had this time with you, and I'm just excited to see what you do with your students. So be sure to share and tag me on Twitter. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Tisha. We hope everyone enjoyed today's session and discovered some useful ideas and tips that are going to help you engage and collaborate with students, whether you're teaching in class or at home. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Try out our integrations today. Lots of love from the Wakelet team.